interact and talk about your specific customers and things. So appreciate the time today. I'm Tom Martin with Lubriplate, and we're going to be reviewing two specific areas of products that we supply: food grade greases and oils, as well as some of the automatic lubricators that we supply through the Firma line. So, and catalogs are coming. I have, they're going through a reprint right now, and I thought I was going to have them last week, but I'll have some to me probably today, or excuse me, tomorrow or Wednesday when I get home. They'll probably be on my front porch. So by the end of the week or so, I should be sending catalogs out to everyone. So it's, you know, our 30-page full line catalog is going through a reprint. So it has updated information from the product as well as contacts for the, you know, the current salespeople that are there. So starting out with the food grade product line. In the past, several different organizations have covered the control of food grade products within plants. So all that being said, currently USDA is the current umbrella organization that controls, and H1 is the main category of food grade products that most manufacturers make. That is a product that can have incidental contact with food. It can be used in areas that you're making food. It's not the kind of oils that you want to use as a lubricant that's direct contact with food all the time. This is just incidental contact. So H3 would be the rating of contact for greases and oils that you want to use in contact with food that are basically edible. We do have some oils that are like a mineral-based oil that are H3 rated. We do not have any greases that are H3 rated. It's only certain oils, and they are in the catalog listed that way. In our food grade section, which you'll see the yellow on the top of the slide here, in our catalog, the yellow section is our food grade section. So our catalog is color-coded to go along with that. So H1 is usually the version of grease and oils that people are looking for. So like I mentioned in the past, there was some different people that monitored the food grade lubricants, but now under the USDA, you'll hear HACCP, HACCP. That's basically a hazardous analyst critical control point program. It's what food grade or what food companies need to have to keep track of all their hazardous materials. And so the reason why they go to food grade greases and oils is because they don't have to put that on that plant, because it eliminates that, because it's a safe product. So that is why food grade products are becoming increasingly more and more prevalent with anytime anybody's making food of any kind. It's a fail-safe way of getting away from that product being on that plant. So here's some of the specifications you might see on paperwork that people have. And these are all listed out in our catalog as far as what products meet these criteria. And we also have on our internet website, lubriplate.com, underneath the food grade area, that lists the products. Anytime you go to any one of the products, you have a data sheet, which is going to list like the viscosities, maybe the NLGI grade of the grease, which is based like a 1 or a 2, how thick it is. You have that, but then also in the food grade area, you'll have the letter that's specifically for that product, that has its certification that you can give to the customer and say, yes, right here is the documentation that this is a food grade product. It's registered. It's not just meets the standard. It's actually registered with the government that we pay to have that done. Some manufacturers out there actually will say it meets the standard, but they don't actually have it registered as a food grade product. So all of our food grade products are across the board registered, either H1, H3. There's a few that are H2. Those are actually food grade that are not really supposed to be in contact with food. That's kind of a rare thing. It's usually more in post. I'm trying to think here, like cookers, oil, and things like that are used after the thing's already canned, so there's no possible way of contact with the actual food product itself. That's the H2 rating. Like I said, most of it's H1. That's what you're going to see most of the time in plants. So here's kind of going over some more of the ratings that we just mentioned. H1 is the most common. It's incidental contact with edible food. 3H or H3, you'll sometimes see it both ways actually. That's actually used as a release agent, can be in contact. So that might be oil that's used like in a bread oven baking area where you put oil in the pans so that the dough doesn't stick, that type of thing. Or I know like some areas, factories will use Crisco as a grease because they need something that's directly coming in contact with food, but it also needs to be able to lubricate their machinery. So, like I said, we don't make a grease, but we do make oils that are the 3H or H3. HT1 is not something you see very often, but that's heat transfer fluids. That would be like where you have a vessel that has like an oil sleeve around it, that the heat is transferred by the oil. So you're not really going to see direct contact. The vessel itself, the stainless steel bowl, would make contact with the food, but the heat is just there to transfer the oil is just there to transfer the heat from the heating element over and around the vessel. You might see that if you're in a factory that's making candy, that if they're doing caramel or something like that, it needs to be at a very, very specific temperature. They'll use heat transfer fluid sometimes to keep a big bowl at an exact temperature so they don't scorch the sugar, but it also keeps it at the right temperature as well. And like I said before, H2 is technically a food grade lubricant, but basically you can only use it in an area where it's not going to have contact with the food. Here's just a listing of all of our most of the products that we have that has the actual NSF regulation number, or excuse me, the registration number, and you'll also see the class code too. So you can see here our FMO oils. Some of our FMOs, those are the ones that are 3H that you can come in contact right with food. For the most part, H1 incidental contact, greases and oils, gear oils, light greases, heavy greases across the board.
Is that a quick reference that's in the catalog?
That is in the food grade area, and I can flip to the website when we're done with the presentation. I can actually take you to that area, and I'll show you where there's, like I said, a letter for each product, and I think there's also a registration with it where all the products are listed. That chart is not, as far as, I don't think this chart is in the, you know what, actually give me 1 second. It might be in the, I have one catalog here that I can look at and see.
I was just thinking of something to have as a quick reference.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Actually, it is in front of the catalog here. There is a listing. Basically, it's the same that same chart that lists the products, and that should be updated when our new one comes out. That would have all the current products. There's a couple, like I said, a couple products that we have currently that are not in this catalog that will be in our new one. So some of the risks associated with using non-food grade lubricants in a food factory, public health concerns. There's been documentation of people getting lubricants, greases that somehow ended up in their packaging, and if they're not food grade, cause sickness and things like that. Also recalls, plant shutdowns if they get inspected by a USDA or some other, FDA comes in, they're doing an inspection, and they're not using food grade products in an area where it needs to be, they can get shut down. So liability concerns, recalls, like I mentioned already. So basically, it doesn't pay anymore in today's era when you have lawsuits for anything and everything. It's just one less area to expose yourself. Like I said, in the event that the food is put in contact with an H1 lubricant, incidental contact is fine. It's not gonna cause illness or sickness. That's what it's designed for. It's food safe products. And also, like I mentioned, safety audits. Basically, if you can go in, if an inspector comes into the plant and you can say, yes, all the lubricants I'm using in my plant are food grade, it's just one less area they have to keep control of when you're having a plant. One of the areas that in the past, it has helped sometimes because in the past they would use food grade above conveyors, and then if it was below conveyors, or let's say the air handling units, they would use non-food grade product because it worked better, because the oils were of higher quality compared to what you could get in the food grade products. That's kind of a thing of the past because the products that we're making with our food grade products, the oils that are used, synthetic as well as the mineral based oils, are as good or better than any of the industrial ones we use. So performance wise, it's there. The performance wise is there, so you don't have to worry about trying to use food grade where you actually have to, and then other areas not use food grade, then you have to keep track of those in your plant. It's just across the board easier to go to food grade, even where you don't necessarily have to use it, because it's one less thing you can have to monitor. And that's pretty much what people have started doing in most food plants. And especially if they're going to synthetic oils, they can utilize our testing service, which is included in the price of the products. You'll see a little jar right there, the little white and black jar. That's a testing jar. And those are, like I said, whenever they're using our oils and greases, that's part of our program. We can go ahead and use the testing, and it allows them to get the full life of their synthetic fluid. So let's say they go to synthetic food grade compressor oil for their air compressors. It's an expensive product, many dollars per gallon. But instead of changing it out, let's say based on 2,000 hours of service, which is maybe what the manual calls for, they take a test every 3 months. And if the viscosity is still good, the contaminants are not in there, the oil is still in great shape, keep it running. It can go 3,000 hours, 4,000 hours. It can go twice as long or even 3 times as long sometimes, depending on what kind of compressor you have, than what the original hours of service would have been called out for in the owner's manual, just because it's a better oil than what the original mineral-based oil was. So high-performance formulations, we have the additives that are in there to cover all the applications like I mentioned. We can reduce and consolidate products. Sometimes if you're using a synthetic oil, lots of times if you had gearboxes that maybe some of them called for a 220 and some of them called for a 150, we can go with a 150 across the board, consolidate from 2 or 3 products down to 1 gear oil. Same with greases. You have several different number 2 greases. We can look at the applications and consolidate down to just one of a number 2 grease, and it helps simplify their plan. I mentioned about being covering all applications. Here's a chart, and this is in the catalog as well in our food grade section, and it shows you a lot of common areas within a plant and what the food grade product to use in that area would be. So you have a hydraulic system. You want to use FMO 350 if you use the standard, or you want to maybe use SFGO if you want to use synthetic. That would be the Ultra 68 for hydraulic systems. Airline or air compressors I mentioned before. SFGO, that would be an Ultra 68 there again. That would be an oil that can be used as a hydraulic oil, but it also can be used as an air compressor lubricant as well. So there again, it would be kind of a combination oil that would be used in multiple places. That would just be one product that covers those areas. Electric motor bearings, you can see extreme, that'd be our synthetic grease, or you can go with an FGL number 1. That's a standard mineral-based grease. For even your forklifts, like I said, it pretty much covers the gamut there. Steamers is another big one. If you have a food company that is canning food, steamers is a big market, so something to keep in mind. And our products meet and exceed the OEM specs. Angelus is one of the major manufacturers of steamers. Just wanted to mention synthetics versus mineral-based. I did mention a little bit about one of the main areas you can do here, or the reason why you would do this is be able to consolidate product. So you can go and have a product that, when you're looking at your viscosity index, are you familiar with what that is? It basically it's the rating on the quality of oil and how long it will maintain its viscosity when exposed to heat. So a lower viscosity number, which even our high quality mineral based oils, any number close to 100, that means it's a good quality oil. If you start seeing numbers down like in the 80s and things, that means that it's becoming a less quality oil. So your mineral based oils, good quality oil, you're going to see right around 100 or a little bit above. Your synthetic products, you're going to see 150, and even none of these products. We have some products that are synthetics that are close to 200. So basically, what that means is that viscosity will stay at whatever it's rated at. Let's say if it's rated at 100 ISO 100 grade oil, it will maintain that viscosity for a much longer time before dropping off due to heat. So that's where you can start consolidating some products, because the film will not break down as quick as what the lower viscosity index oils will. So if you're going to synthetics, you can combine products and you can save your customers some documentations and some SKUs basically in their warehouse area. We do have interchange recommendations, and these are also in the catalog too. So these are pretty much standard products from Kluber and Mobile. But I'm also available, and also our inside sales help is available too for any interchanges you might need to do for your product. So just to reiterate again on synthetic oils, extends oil change intervals, gearbox life because it's a high quality oil. Efficiency, it actually allows gearboxes to run cooler, thereby increasing bearing life, thereby making the gearbox last longer, and also helps consolidate oil inventories because you can consolidate several grades down to one grade. And it also gives you a bigger sell too. Synthetic products are more expensive, so from a sales organization side, it's a higher dollar sale. Another thing that is available to you at no extra charge, it's included in the price of the product. You'll see some tags laying there on the table. We will create oil lube charts for your customer, color code those charts, and then provide tags for them to put them on their machinery. So they can go out and label their gearboxes, their motors, their various things that do. So it looks about the size of a credit card. It would be a project that we work through you and your customer, and we would agree on the products they're using, agree on the colors they want, and then go from there, print out how many cards are needed. So that's something kind of a nice selling feature. Like I said, it's also included in the price of the product. I mentioned sampling before. It is included in the price of our product as well as the tags. So it's important when you sample oil to make sure it's a consistent process. It's always done the same way. So if the gearbox, you're sampling the gearbox, make sure the gearbox has been running for a while. You don't want to have it sitting for the weekend, because then everything's cold, and if there is any liquid in there, like as far as water or anything, it'll separate it out. You really want something that's been brought up to operating temperature, run for a while. That way, any particular things is finely dispersed throughout the whole oil, and you want to take it from the same place every time, so it's a consistent process. Preferably, if you're doing it from a hydraulic system, you actually have a sample port or a test port, which is a fitting that I'm sure you guys can supply from one of your manufacturers that you represent. Have that to the customer, and they can use that test port for multiple things, as you're well aware of probably. But you can take temperatures from there, you can take pressures from there, but you can also take a little sample from there too for the hydraulic systems. So usually gearboxes and hydraulic systems are the two major components that we do sampling for. But we will do sampling for just about anything, including even our greases. If greases isn't something you normally sample as far as for performance, but if somebody has something going on, they want us to tell them what's in their grease, we can take it back and get that done for them. And our day-to-day sampling is not done by us in-house. It's done by a third-party company. We pay for it, but it's done by a third-party company, so there's no hints of impropriety or anything. It's all independently done. The customer sends the sample out and gets the results directly back to them, but you as the distributor are copied on that, as well as me as the manufacturer. So the first time the customer sends a sample, and they have to get them set up for that, but then once if they're set up, it's an ongoing process, and that's pretty simple from that. So it's something good to talk about if people ask, well, why is Lubriplate oils maybe more expensive than some others? Well, it's a high quality product, but also we have a lot of these other services that are included that are no extra charge that they might very well be paying for it currently. This is what a sample report would look like. So depending on what is in there, the wear materials, if this is a hydraulic system, you can actually even kind of tell maybe what's going on with the hydraulic system depending on what metals you're seeing in it. If it's certain metals, you might say, well, it's the bushings within a hydraulic pump are starting to wear, or if it's a gearbox, you might say, oh, your gear teeth might be starting to see some life issues. So, and that's what we have for the food grade presentation. Give me 1 second. I'll be right with you on the automatic lubricants. So any experience here with the automatic lubricators? You've seen them? Well, we have the kit right here in front of you too, so it kind of gives you a nice view of what's available. What's that? So feel free to pick up any of these, when we're done here, but we can look at the different ones available. So automatic lubricators, there's a couple different reasons why people would use them. One, it's a great sell as far as reliability. You're not going to over lubricate and then let something go dry. It's going to give a nice even pressure for the grease input. And there is oil available in these as well too, just to let you know. It's not just grease, you can get oil in these depending on what the customer's using it for. So in the past on electric motors, let's say, which is a really good common application for these automatic lubricators, is electric motors of all sizes, big and small. You know, they would go pump it up maybe a couple pumps every couple weeks. And so that's actually probably over greasing that high-speed bearing a little bit. And then as time goes on over the next couple weeks, if it's running a lot, it's going to gradually go down to where it should be through its purge valve or however it's getting rid of the grease. And then they come through and they re-lubricate it again, and it probably gets it. So it's more of a jagged line. Whereas the Perma, you know, this would be the greaser with the grease gun. Whereas a Perma, it just gives a little shot every once in a while, and you adjust the time that it takes to disperse based on the size of the bearing, the speed, and the amount of hours a day it's running. So that's one of the advantages. It actually provides a better lubrication cycle than what manual lubrication does. They also can increase, or I should say decrease, your safety risk as far as, let's say it's on an air handling unit that's up on, somebody has to go up on a ladder to grease a pillow block bearing that's in a fan someplace. They do that maybe twice a month, let's say. So 24 times a year they're doing that. Whereas this, maybe one of these units would last 12 months for it, depending on the size of the bearing, or at least 6 months. And so they're only getting up there twice a year or once a year versus the 24 times. So that's a sell too, as far as like on their health and safety operations within the plant. So and also the way it's done, it can be done in, like I said, a more safe manner, but also it also does the quantity and also the right place too. So these are the 5 rights of lubrication, and this definitely helps with those rights. So we determine what the right lubricant is. We put it in the unit, obviously. The right quality, the right amount. That determines by the dispersal rate. So if it's a large bearing and it's running pretty fast, well, maybe it's going to disperse within 1 month, let's say. There's a little formula that you can use to figure that out. It's on the Perma website. I can send you links, so I can also help too. If you give me the application specs, we can tell you what the settings should be, what the size of the unit, and how long it should take to disperse it. So that would be the right amount. The right place, this puts it in very nicely. You can attach these right to a pillow block if need be, or right to the electric motor, or you can remotely mount them with a bracket and a hose. So that way, if you're, let's say your machine has a cage around it that's guarding it for safety purposes, but you have to shut the machine down in order to go in there to lubricate. This can be remotely mounted. It can be 5 feet away, 10 feet away. Goes into where the bearing is at. It provides a shot of grease, throughout the days of operation, and nobody has to get in there and shut the machine down in order to do it. So that's a nice selling feature as far as being able to do it remotely. And also, like we already mentioned, the right time or interval. It doesn't do the huge shot of grease and then let it work out over time. It's providing small shots of grease where it should be. So the way these units work is gas or electromechanical. So the traditional ones would be the gas operated. That's what the plastic unit is here. It's galvanized metal unit. You have various pills available that it gets screwed into the unit, and depending on the color of the pill is how many months it's going to take for it to disperse. So it's creating a chemical reaction inside here. There's a liquid, and that drops a mechanical little pill in there. It creates a reaction which moves the bladder down over time. Depending on the size of the pill that's in that applicator, depends on the amount of reaction that goes on, depends if it's faster or slower. One drawback to these units are they don't sense temperature. So if this unit's used in an area where it's outside and cold and you have a 1 month pill in, let's say, it might take 2 months for it to disperse because the oil has been increased in viscosity due to the temperature. Or if it's right next to an oven someplace and it's warmer and you have a 2 month pill in there, it might disperse within 1 month because it's warmer and the viscosity has dropped and it's creating pressure which it thinks it should force it out within a certain amount of time, and it's going to be less because the fluid's thinner. So that's one drawback from them. One advantage of those is they are galvanized metal, they're durable, so if you're out in a quarry or something like that, they're a little more durable than what a plastic unit would be.
Are these refillable?
No, these are not.
Okay.
Yeah, these would be disposable.
Gotcha.
This unit, you put the pill in, you let it run. You either use they have a web-based application that you can go monitor, and you can say, hey, I installed this today, I put a 2 month pill in it, It'll give you 10 days ahead of time before it's empty. It'll give you an email or however you want to be notified, and it will say, hey, I'm about ready to be empty. Get a new one. That's available on permausa.com as well. That application, it's free of charge, no charge. These you throw them away when they're done. Same with these. The advantage of this is it's adjustable. So let's say you need to speed it up or slow it down after your initial thing. All you just go out and you turn the dial on it. It will speed up or slow down. And it's marked off in months how long it's going to take to disperse. These are also they're adjustable. They also use electromechanical, electrical chemical reaction is what it is. So they actually have like a watch battery inside here that they run through a liquid, and it creates a gas. So that's why it's adjustable. You're adjusting the current that's creating how much of a gas is created, and so therefore how quickly it pushes down the bladder. I think it's the Nova is the one. So the Flex, it's adjustable, but it does not have a temperature sensor in there. So there again, if it's in a hot or cold environment, it will affect how quickly it disperses. The Nova has a temperature sensor in it, so that's a little bit better. It still uses the same process. It's sensing the temperature, but it's also adjusting the amount of voltage it's sending through the chemical to create the bladder, to force the bladder down. The Star Vario, actually that was this. This unit here is the Star Vario. This unit is electromechanical, so it actually has a battery pack that you get a new one every time you order a refill, which if you order a refill, this is what you would get. You would get this piece and the battery pack. This drive unit is reusable, so once you get a couple of these, all you need to do is order the refills on it. And then, so you don't refill it, but you get just the bottom part, and it comes with a fresh battery pack every time. So this actually drives a little screw, so it's temperature independent. It's a time-based thing, depending on what you put in on top here, if it's 6 months or 12 months or 24 months. It also has LEDs in this unit as well, so if you walk by it and it's showing green, you know you're good. If it's red, you know it's either blocked or it's empty. So these units also have a version that's available to you that can communicate with a PLC. So if your customer has a control package on a piece of machinery, and once that machinery runs, maybe 1 week at a time, and then it gets shut down for a week, this can be on and off via that control package. So that's a nice feature for this unit as well. And then the other unit that they have is the MP6. I don't have one of those samples here, but it's basically very similar to a Star Vario that goes into a block that has 6 ports on it. And on this unit you can control, so even though you have 6 ports, you can control it so you just are using a few of them. You don't have to use all 6. But you do not have the choice of varying the output on each port. So whatever output time you have set for the unit, it's the same for all ports. So that is a question that was asked a while ago, and that is the answer to that question. This one also is available for communication. So if you have a PLC or something that's controlling a piece of machinery, you can tie this one in for a power package. So makes it a little easier. We have a list, and I'll send out a spreadsheet to, I guess, to Jim or somebody that you can send it to whoever needs to. But it basically lists. We have a lot of products that are commonly available. Basically, what happens here is Perma stocks our product at their factory in North Carolina, and then they fill and ship out on demand. So they have a bunch of food grade greases. They've got a bunch of standard greases. They've got several standard oils as well that they'll put in there, just so it's not our complete product line, but a good cross section of our product line is available in these units. Enough to cover just about any situation that you'll come across, I think. But food grade is definitely a big possibility for these. They even come with a package. I don't think I have a picture of that, but you can get as a standard option. It's on the spreadsheet. It's a box. These things can be mounted in. So that way, if you're in a food factory and you're doing wash down, there's just an enclosure. It has a clear plastic lid in front of it, so you can still see the units inside, but it protects it from wash down. And then it has holes where you run the lines out of it to go to your piece of machinery. So you can kind of see there's different, like this unit is available. This is a 250, but you also get it with a 125 too. That's as far as the size of your CCs of product available. Some different capacities available. There is a listing of the products down below. So you'll see a bunch of the petroleum-based greases, synthetic greases, your food-grade greases, food oils. So if you're let's say if you have a chain drive someplace within a food plant, it'd be a pretty simple little setup to be able to go and you can mount a. These accessories are all available right through Prima. But you can very easily mount, this on a bracket, mount a little hose to it, put a brush to the end of it, and they can, you can be lubricating a linear motion slide or a roller chain drive or things like that. So just some other areas you might not think of besides just regular grease that would be on an electric motor. If you are using it with oil, you do want to recommend a check valve. It gets put right at the end here, and what it will do is it will make sure that the oil doesn't drain out. So this generates pressure, obviously, so it's enough to force the oil through the check valve. But then once the pulse goes through to distribute the fluid, it will be not enough to overcome the check valve, and then it will sit there and it will just dispense correctly. That's the only time you want to use the check valve. The grease does not need that product. There's just some common instructions on how to use them. You can see you would just basically get rid of the zerk on a pillow block. This is what this is. Get rid of the grease zerk, and it comes with a little adapter, and you screw it right into where the grease zerk would be. On the gas power ones, it shows you the different colors there that are available in the different months. So yellow would be, let's see here, 1 month, green is 3 months, red is 6, and there's a silver or white, I guess it's 12. So those would be the options for the gas power ones. All the other ones are just adjustable via the top of the unit. So that's what I have. Thank you very much for your attention. Any questions or anything I can answer?
Who's the competition?
As far as automatic lubricators?
Not at lubricants.
Oh, Jax would be one brand. Kluber would be, they make food grade products. Shell has sold their food grade line, so I think that's possibly might be Total now. I think Navastain, Total, the old Keystone Lubricants Company. Those would all be food grade lubricants that we would compete against. There's some of the main brand like CRCs and things. They sell some food grade products, but not usually a complete line of gear oils and things. They might have like the spray aerosols, which I did set a few out here. We do have some of the spray aerosols too, some of the greases as well as the silicones and things like that too. That would be food grade, as well as some non-food grade products in the aerosols. But those are definitely all food grade products there.
You see anything at Shriver?
Uh,
Or barrels or anything?
They have a bunch of, they have a whole cabinet of like different lubricants and stuff in it. And I haven't really dove in to know exactly what it is.
But now you will more.
Yes. Yeah.
And we do not go direct. I mean, at worst, you're going to be competing with another distributor. We do not take any accounts direct. Some lubricant companies out there do, on a large corporation, they'll like Fuchs is another company, they'll go directly to the customer. So as a distributor, you don't need to worry about us taking any direct. Like I said, at the most, it's going to be, you're going to be battling it out with another distributor that's in the area. So, and that's, I'm sure, something you do every day. So. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your attention. I appreciate it.